22 minutes away from 5 o'clock. Good to have you with us. I'm Gareth Edwards. Now, while South Africa is set to hold its general elections next year, advocacy group My Vote Counts is calling up against persistent cuts to the IEC budget. They're saying it shouldn't be happening. The organization says this is underfunding the country's democracy. Why do they think that? Well, let's go over and find out from Electoral Systems Researcher. You'll know, of course, from the previous elections. It's wonderful to hear from Letlhogonolo Letshele once again joining us. And give us a sense then. So budget cuts, how does that affect our democratic rights?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. The key concern here is around the implementation of the Electoral Amendment Bill. As you would know, we are expecting the President to sign the bill into law that makes sure that independent candidates will be included in the national elections next year, so they'll be able to contest in national election and provincial elections. So this is a big thing for the IEC because they need to readjust a lot of their work. Predominantly, the ICT work, the technology that they use, for instance, the result system, the candidate nomination system, the ballots, because now there'll be more people into the ballot. So that needs quite a lot of funding for them to do that. Number two, and most important, is education. They need to go on about education drives, teaching people about this new system, because now we would have changed how we're going to vote. There'll be new contestants as well. So people need to know how to vote so that when they go to the ballot on the IEC, and also their staff as well, they need to do training. So we're saying that because we are heading towards a critical year next year, there needs to be a lot of funding. If the IEC fails to get this right in terms of making sure that the implementation of the act is well, then we'll have issues, because now when people are not informed and when their systems are not in place, then we cannot really say that the election would have been free and fair if they fail to implement this. So this is what they had said during the responses to their budget allocation, saying that these underfunding for this year, this is particularly the area that will be affected by the underfunding, so which signals an issue around free and fair elections.
So give us a sense then, if this is not corrected before we get to the elections next year, Letlhogonolo, do you think that we could see our democracy going backwards instead of forwards? We could lose a lot of the gains that has been credited to the IEC all these years. Could we see next year's elections in danger?
I'm trying to be optimistic, because a lot of the things they've managed to cover in terms of voter registration, some of the staffing issues that they have, they will be able. So it's just one of these elements that they are not able to get to, as well as the issue of electronic voting. You'd have seen in 2021 it was really difficult to conduct elections during a pandemic. So we are hoping by 2024 we would have a better way to conduct our elections, but unfortunately this underfunding as well cuts into that, so they are not able to do a feasibility study or pilot the issue of electronic voting, so that's off the table. So it's one of those things that really affects the democracy. Could have been better, but we're certainly hoping for the best, because they are able to do some of the things, like I said, they could be able to do two registration weekends. Initially last year, when they first received budget cuts, they thought they wouldn't be able to. I think they've managed to really put that back into form.
Yeah. Just a last question then on this, because we are struggling slightly with the signal. Letlhogonolo, forgive me, I just want to jump in before we lose the signal completely. I hope you can still hear me. I see Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs also looking at the budget for the IEC to be reconsidered. Is that something you would support?
It's something I would support, because even last year they are the ones that actually even flagged this thing to people to say the IEC will be experiencing budget cuts over the next 3 years, saying that the budget is way too small. They fear that people will not get enough education around the elections that are coming up. They really reiterated that people need to know that the elections are happening. They need to know how to vote, and they need to know about the new system coming into place next year. So they really emphasize. So we're hoping that it's something that they can do, just put pressure on Treasury and government to fund our democracy, because it's really important that we really do not lose, such an important organizations such as the IEC.
And I appreciate your time in joining us this afternoon. Yeah, budget cuts to the IEC, and what is that going to mean for next year's elections? There are various concerns around this, but Letlhogonolo Letshele, Electoral Systems Researcher, just highlighting some of the bigger issues. I do apologize for the breakup on the line, but I think as I stayed with the interview, we were able to at least get the crux of what the issues are ahead of next year, especially involving around technology and also the security in place to ensure free and fair elections. How much of that's going to be impacted because of the budget cuts to the IEC?